You're watching this week's show with Dan and Mike.
This week's show podcast.
Hello, hello.
We are back for another week.
Back on the sofa.
And this deep dive that we've got today, I've got to admit, challenged me a little bit.
But it's very apt for this time of the year, or this month.
Yes.
Halloween coming up next week.
And we got a little Halloween special.
Yeah, next week's Halloween show is good. We've got special guests.
We got special guests.
So, but in the meantime, watch this week's show first.
Yes. Normal sort of check-in. How are you doing, sir?
It's been an eventful week.
Yep.
And it's been a very wet day today, so it's nice to be indoors.
Yeah, no, I actually got woken up because I forgot to close my skylight overnight, which is above my head as I sleep. So I was getting spritzed on this morning by heavy rain at about 6:30 this morning. So I woke up very early.
It was raining way before then.
I don't know why that was the point, but yeah, I just realised I think it had probably got to the point where I was actually quite damp, and then that woke me up. Yeah, so
more of a waterboarding than a spritz.
Yeah, it's definitely an entertaining way to wake up.
Spritz is more, when you walk through the perfumery in a department store and they, have you smelled new? Too late.
Yeah, no.
It's the only reason I wear glasses. It's not because I'm blind. It's
to stop the spritz in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's dedication to going against the perfume people of, I'd say, John Lewis.
I don't think they do it anymore because it's a violation of people's
personal space.
Yeah.
Well, I remember
and eyeballs.
I remember the Friends one where it's like Joey is trying to be one of those people, and
Des gens for men.
and he ends up in the fight with the guy that looks like a cowboy with it,
with the tassels.
Yeah. So
it's ringing true now.
Though I got to be honest, I'll happily say this on the podcast because this is what I've done with Friends. I don't think it's appropriate to watch in 2025 anymore.
It's a bit.
I cannot.
Hasn't aged well.
Yeah, and I can't make myself get through the things which I think are inappropriate now.
Yeah, that and New York in the early noughties, late 90s definitely wasn't that white.
No, and that's one of the main problems.
Or that creepy.
That I have a big problem with the general character of Joey. Yes, don't get me wrong. I read an article which was saying they had. One of the first prime time, gay couples. But then they ruined it with the wedding where all of them, all of their friends had to be gay. And it
Plus,
was
also the gay couple, I'm sure you're on about...
Susan and,
were hardly ever on camera, or even together when they were on camera. They were hardly ever together on camera. Yeah. It was only little sort of cameos to edge the story along.
And to take the piss out of Ross, which I'm also... are we okay with that being used as a device to make jokes out of? I'm not. I don't like making jokes out of people's sexuality. I've actually changed a lot. I used to be the biggest fan of Friends, loved it, would sit there and happily crush all 10 seasons just to
It's when it was
go
on
through them.
terrestrial TV and they go, coming up next, Friends Marathon. This one's just centred around where Ross is the lead character, and then the following day it'd be when Rachel's the lead character. It's like how many
themes can you get through?
Yeah.
Yes.
This one's all based around when they all sat down and had a coffee. 7 seasons.
I also had a big problem with the TV releases because the jokes are so much longer and darker on the DVD release because they didn't have to trim it for pre-Watershed. For those that don't understand, Watershed is what we call in the UK 9 p.m. kids TV beforehand.
It's mostly the same around the world. It's 9 p.m.
I just don't know if it's called Watershed. Whether that's like a UK way of putting it.
No, but it is. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, funnily enough, and they were like, in the States it's about the same time as when you get it's because, kids go to bed and should be in bed not watching TV.
Yes.
They'll be in bed on their tablets watching something far more horrific. Probably videos by our deep dive artist.
Yeah, I mean, not only our deep dive, but our From the Vault this week. Also, we were reviewing some of the interviews from them, and shall we say, questionable tour tactics were being talked about.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. So we'll get onto that on the other podcast. Make sure and chuck one in nice and early. Do a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So not only do we do one that where we pick up a theme like a deep dive, but we also do From the Vault as well, which is an interview that comes from our radio show, because we've been radio presenters now for
about 18-ish years.
About 18 years, and so we have tons, and we like dipping back into some of them. And well, this one we're actually saying is truly From the Vault, because you can't actually watch this week's one on our channel anymore.
There you go, you'll have to wait for that to drop, another excuse to hit that notification bell.
You know it. But also, I think we should send some thoughts and prayers out to Seth Rollins' shoulder, because that's either he's got to fake another injury for a few weeks for a storyline, or boy has actually managed to hurt himself this time. Either way, I got to admit, because Mike texts me saying, do not get distracted in the last 5 minutes of last week's Raw, and I was like, okay, last 5 minutes, there's normally something that goes down.
It's only because we did all that
Crown Jewel stuff,
and I was like, oh, I've still got 10 minutes to watch. If only I'd turned up here 10 minutes later, we could have had oh, actually you didn't watch it until after we recorded, but
I mean, I think
I
you
got
would have
home
been...
and just went like, oh, it would just be like the end of a match and a
credits
wrap up, credits, and just like, yes. What?
And to be honest, whether it was planned, whether it was reactive to an actual injury, I just loved the way that, because I've seen a couple of podcasts where people are talking about how good Bron Breakker is, because across that whole episode, you were inferring it, and then we were saying it to each other, is that Bron was just doing such a good job of looking more and more subtly unhappy with everything Seth was saying.
Agitated.
Yeah, and then what I love, and I'm sorry I don't know the podcast because I caught it on a reel, but he said the brilliant bit is the fact that Bronson Reed now looks to Bron Breakker as his example, and the cleverness of what they did, because Bronson had destroyed Seth with, a billion tsunamis a little while ago before he became part of the Vision, is that they did the realization in Bronson Reed's head really, really well of, well, I've already destroyed him once, and he just drags him to the corner and then does it again. And I was like, this is how we build future stars in a really, really good way. And those who think, because I see pages complaining that Seth never gives people opportunities, Roman never gives people opportunities, just look at what's happened with the Bronze at the moment, and they're being raised up by the superstars of the industry to be the next superstars.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with it.
High tide raises all ships.
Indeed. Now, I did actually know, mostly because I had watched your story, but the other thing that...
Patriots won again?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well done.
But I had actually looked, and I was going to try and surprise you, but then you mentioned it before we recorded. I was like, damn it.
Surprise me if you can remember who they were playing or what the score was.
An American football team.
Correct.
And they had the higher score than the other team.
This is true. Much higher score.
But
it was against the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
Who, weirdly, the head coach of the Patriots used to work for the Titans, and so did the assistants. So we kind of knew the team before we attacked them.
Just watching across the sidelines.
But Drake May, our QB1, is breaking records, which is good.
Because it's really difficult to break records these days.
Especially on that team, because you had Tom Brady.
And Gronk, from what you were telling me.
Yeah, but the QB wouldn't. Yeah, there'd be different records for quarterback.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But yeah, really difficult in the Patriots to break records, because the one thing I do know about is how impressive Tom Brady's career was. In fact, when we went to go see Killswitch and Hatebreed the other day,
yes,
we were having quite a long conversation on the way back, because I was asking Mike, I was like, can there be another Tom Brady? Can anybody actually get those career stats? And then you hit me with some knowledge that I found really quite surprising.
You have to start really, really, really young.
But you also said that he wasn't number one when he started.
I didn't
know that.
He was like a third round pick, and then like really low down on the roster of third rounders. It's just like...
And I said that the only equivalent I know is that Seth Rollins, obviously not quite the same thing, but when he left the independent circuit to join WWE, he was so disliked on the independent circuit, they chanted "future jobber" at him.
Yes.
And we said that for Brady and Rollins, it just goes to show that if you're willing to keep turning up, put in the hard work, and make your life focus the thing that you're trying to do, it's a bit why Pat McAfee has gone back to doing the McAfee show and making that his priority rather than commentating as well. because sometimes you've got to choose the priority and push forward with it. So
again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get us further up.
Yeah, like, please, like, we don't want to be, normal jobs anymore. Like, Rogan, we're coming for you. Doubt it, but it would be great.
Hundreds of millions of views a week he gets.
Well, we're going to try with this one to see whether or not we get a response from the man or the band himself with our deep dive, because both of us have come into this with...
It's quite controversial, but it is someone that's been part of our lives for a couple of decades now. So.
I mean, he was one of my gateways.
Yeah.
And
I've
even written down the track and the year to because I remember so solidly being made aware of this man. So
there was a moment in the mid-90s where it could, it was like making music, turning it into dollars. It was
last of the platinum selling albums.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are talking about the notorious and
the notorious is good. Controversial.
Brian Hugh Warner, aka Marilyn Manson.
And if we go for his original band name, Marilyn Manson and Spooky Kids.
Correct.
Yes. So yeah, I've actually, like, I did a personal deep dive. So I was saying to Mike just before we recorded, some deep dives I have an abundance of fan information in my head, which I'm quite happy relying on. But I realised that I didn't actually, I couldn't drill down into some of the details of things that I remember. And so I've gone back and I've gone over some of the stuff. And in fact, it caught your eye when you realised what I had written down on our notes board.
Yeah.
No, I remember that. And we talked about how even 20 years later, certain bits are still being misconstrued. But we are going to preface this because there was obviously some controversy in court over issues that we feel quite strongly about. And in the sense of, if Marilyn Manson had been charged, we probably wouldn't have done this.
No.
But all we're going to say is that we have to treat things on a legal system. We've covered this on the show. I've gone on this rant before because we still play As I Lay Dying, and Tim Lambesis got sent to prison for taking a hit out on his wife, putting it very bluntly.
Yeah.
But he served his time. He rehabilitated, and I don't understand the point of a justice system and a prison system if we then don't treat people that have done their time fairly. Now, this is a slightly different one because
it all came out from, within the last 5 years, it was the Me Too movement.
Which we support.
We fully support. There was a few names that came out of the woodwork to lampoon Mr. Manson, and a judge last year found that there was not enough evidence and no charges were brought. So he managed to,
It was key for us that there was a lack of evidence. Because we're not here to talk about Brian, we are here to talk about Marilyn. We're here to talk about the stage performer, the album recorder, not necessarily who he is in his personal life, but we also understand how sensitive an issue like this is. So we just wanted to preface that if there had been evidence and charges were still active, we would never dream of talking about somebody that is in that situation, because that's just not how you support things.
But it's not the first time he's had some dealings with the press. It seems to be.
I mean, this didn't get to Congress.
And law and stuff. He was the finger pointed at for the guys shooting up Columbine, which was
even appeared in Bowling for Columbine with Michael Moore.
And the best line from that film, which still sticks in my head, is like, Michael Moore asks him, what would you do if you went to Columbine? And he literally just turned around and said, well, I'd do what they didn't, the police didn't do and everyone else. I would sit down and talk and listen to the children.
Yeah.
Not interview and interrogate. Just sit down, listen to them. And that stuck with me. It's like, you got to hear their side of the story, not, the media pointed the finger at him because he was, as he said himself, the Antichrist Superstar. He was the Alice Cooper of the 90s.
Yes.
Back in the 60s, 70s, when Alice Cooper came out, he was the shock artist of the time, and everyone was like, oh, he's got black eyeliner on and fangs, and he's on stage with a snake, that's demonic. And as progression goes on, you had the likes of Typo Negative and you wouldn't have had Rob Zombie. You see some of Rob Zombie's films and they're disturbing enough, let alone the music.
I mean, we've got the recent example as well, that our current shock artist is Ronnie Rag from Falling
I was
in
going
Reverse.
to bring Ronnie up because they duetted on
God is a Weapon.
God is a Weapon.
Though, do you know what's really funny about that, just to take a slight side note, is I think Ronnie's pipes on the finishing chorus of that song,
where he sings all high and operatic,
has completely taken the focus away from Marilyn Manson being a feature on it, because the only thing that people do is, he lip syncs, so he proves that he can. But I watched, and I sent it to you, I think, because I found it quite interesting, is I like watching non-metal vocal coaches watching people like Ronnie or like Noah from Bad Omens.
Will from Lorna.
Yeah, all of that. And it was just lovely to see a vocal coach just being like, not only is he really, really good, but it's the vocal control. But then again, same things were said about Manson, is that, he can't sing and all of that. And then he went on a run, I think it was around early 2000s, where he did just do performances where he was showing people it's not just the snarly vocals or the different bits. He can actually really sing.
Yeah, but a lot of the recording is to get that quintessential Marilyn Manson sound. It's double layered.
Yeah.
So it's all down to the edit, like where you pan this way and that way, and then layer it over so it pans the other way. So you get that. It's almost like that croak, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
a very, as you say, very signature sound.
It is, yeah.
Now,
but it's mostly noticeable on the slower songs, I think, because when he's doing like the heavier, the more screamy kind of things, it's more him. Whereas when it's the slowed down kind of gentler songs, you can notice that double layering of the vocals, which
100%.
is one of the things that made him stand out, not just the controversy, but...
I mean, I'm going to say what my first memory of him was, though it wasn't the only song I knew. I just didn't realise that songs I knew were by him. This was the first one I knew who he was, and I knew that he had covered this track, and it's Tainted Love.
Okay, yeah.
Almost like...
When was that? That was like 98?
No, it's actually 2002 that one came out.
Oh, geez, that was quite a late one, because I discovered Marilyn Manson just after school, because the first album, A Portrait of an American Family, came out.
Yeah.
And on that was Sweet Dreams.
And that was his...
Well, that's the one that elevated the band, because no one would have really listened to him bigger than, the rock scene kind of thing.
Bigger than his super fan base, yeah.
And that was in 94, and they'd already been a band since 89.
Just not releasing any albums until 94.
No, but that's 5 or 6 years of gigging, and how many artists do we know that gigged for a decade or so before?
But it's also because they had a very, in this moment, Maria Brink style theatricalness.
Yes.
Where the stage performances were the reason they got signed, I believe, to Sony as their first one. But it even said in the thing that I was doing my research on is they were one of the only bands that were signed at that time that had no album, no demos, nothing written.
They were all off the live.
All off the aesthetic, the live show, and then...
Well, it's just the band members themselves, like how they picked their names. That was known before anyone really knew who Brian's Marilyn Manson is, or the rest of the band, because they picked a serial killer and a beautiful person type thing, which is Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. Or you had like Twiggy Ramirez, who was Twiggy the supermodel and Ramirez the serial killer. I was thinking like, whoa, what would mine be if I went along that way? So I've got mine, but I'll let you chew it over and come back to that later on in the...
Get back to me on that one, because I've got to quickly put something together.
You've got to know your supermodels or your pretty people.
Yeah,
and your serial killers.
You've got me on that one a little bit.
Chew it over whilst we carry on.
Yeah, no, fully.
So I mentioned that they formed in '89, and the first album that I found them was The Portrait of American, but the one that really catapulted them was the Antichrist Superstar, with the black and white imagery, and it was performed in like a sandbag bunker type thing when the imagery on that tour just blew up. And that's the one where the churches went after him, and that's how you get notoriety, and that's how you become famous around the world, when the churches in different countries take a pop at you. But all he was doing was throwing a mirror at the church, saying, this is society at the moment. It's like, I can become this huge global superstar without the church, but I can be as big as Jesus, kind of thing. Almost like Oasis had that quote, didn't they? It's like, oh, we'll be bigger than the Beatles.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, at that time, they probably were, because, it's the number of people that are buying tickets and all that kind of stuff. And
the only thing that's different is that we can't, with more security and more awareness, because of people like the Beatles, Oasis, even Marilyn, is you don't get people swarming airports and planes in the same way that you used to, because there's so much more security in place.
Yeah, especially at airports,
right?
And whatnot.
Because imagine, Taylor Swift, if she didn't have a private jet, if she was touching down normal people's styles and people could get to her mania would be bigger than Beatles mania.
Oh, for sure. And if you see at the moment Youngblood, he's always done it, but now it's getting mania for him. But he still does it. Even on this tour that he's on at the moment, he'll do the gig, go back to the hotel, and there'll be like hundreds of fans camped outside, and he'll go and do like a little acoustic thing, sat on a balcony ledge, so the fans can't get him, but there's a roadblock, and the police are going, we can't do anything about this. There's like 1,000 kids just chanting Youngblood kind of thing.
Shout out to just what a legend Youngblood is
I love him.
Whether you think he's necessarily, because we had a joke actually when we were watching the gig, because I've seen a lot of people saying that Youngblood's a poser because he didn't start as a rock artist, and it just feels like he's phoning it in. Guys,
not at all.
Every rock star, when they first start trying to be a rock star, is probably a bit of a poser. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that, the movie Rockstar, Almost Famous, like all of these things, the joke is that Airheads is the best one.
Yes.
Because
yes.
Come on, Chester. Is you create a personality for stage. Like we're talking about Marilyn Manson, they're being very different to Brian. Youngblood performs to the crowd and the style that he's wanted to do at the time. Nobody cared when Machine Gun Kelly suddenly switched to being a pop punk artist, in the same way that they can now because of his dancing. But...
Well, he's now changed it to MGK because he's got a kid, and he said he doesn't want the words machine gun in his name. So MGK, but he duetted with Youngblood.
Yeah, and the thing is like, one thing that makes me really laugh is they're like, oh, what's happened to manliness? And they show the Machine Gun Kelly video where he's dancing and mopping. It's like, but me and you know, if you go far enough back to some of the old, shall we say, rock stars, it's just as campy. It's just as cringeworthy. In fact...
Motley Crue. Ozzy Osbourne.
Early Bon Jovi videos are awful, but tell you what, slight side note, because I've reminded myself, definitely checked out the Bon Jovi Robbie Williams crossover track. It's actually quite catchy.
It's got a lick to it, hasn't it?
Not only that, but I was playing it in the background. I didn't tell, because the manager was helping work on their stuff over the weekend. I didn't tell her what I was playing, so she picked up on the fact it was Bon Jovi, but then it kicks into Robbie's verse, and she's like, wait a minute, hold it. Is that Robbie Williams on a Bon Jovi track? And I was like, yes it is. And I think, again, if we can accept Robbie Williams being on a Bon Jovi track, then Youngblood's not a poser.
No, Youngblood's with Aerosmith,
Exactly. Not only that, but if Youngblood's a poser, Marilyn Manson's a poser.
Well, you say that. I think it was 1998 on the Mechanical Animals tour, which is where Marilyn toyed with androgyny.
Yes.
Became sexless and, had breasts or implants in his look and had bright red hair. But around that time, it was he duetted live on stage at Reading Festival, where I was at, with Eminem. Marilyn was the support, Eminem was the headliner.
Yeah.
Marilyn comes out, and Eminem's this big. Mm-hmm. Marilyn Manson's this big, and then he's got the platform shoes on as well. So M's giving it all that, like he does with the hood up and kind of thing. And Marilyn's just over the top of it, like Eminem's here, and Marilyn's just leaning on the top of his head whilst Eminem's giving it all that, and they duetted, and it was awesome.
So it's a bit like, height-wise, a bit like when we protect the manager at gigs. Because, I kid you not, looking after our manager at gigs is the easiest thing for me and Mike to do, because we can look over the top of her head. She is that tiny.
I don't know if that's because I don't want to be sizist on Eminem. I don't know if he's a small fellow. I don't know his height, but I know Marilyn Manson is a tall guy anyway, without the moon boots on, and he's got that. He had the top hat as well.
Yeah.
But during that set, during Marilyn's set, it was they had the keyboard on the tree that swing back and forth.
Yeah.
And there was one, I can't remember what song it was. This was like 20 plus years ago. But Marilyn straps into a skirt and he's singing away, and it just goes up and up and up and up, and the skirt bellows out wider and wider. He's on like a little platform thing inside the skirt, and it just rises up, and he's got this huge ornate like design like skirt type thing.
Amazing.
Like, yeah. But that was pretty much the golden era, I think, of when Marilyn Manson was at the height of his global dominance as an artist that could shock the world, kind of thing. Because they had the first album, then there was Antichrist and Mechanical Animals came out in '98, and then it kind of there was too much controversy, I think, over the next couple of after that for the next couple of albums to really give him that push again.
Well, also he said that he got a bit tired of it. I remember seeing an interview.
There was that, and there had been Columbine, where he was, the scapegoat, and the congressional hearings over his lyrics.
Not only that,
but it wasn't just him.
But it also, for him, it led to him to be banned legally by legislature from state-owned venues.
Yes, like in Utah and places like that.
It was crazy.
But it wasn't just him that the congressional hearing was about. It was just lyrics in general that pollute and warp the youth, because they had Tupac's lyrics was there as well, and so was Snoop. So it was mostly hip hop that had blown up at that time. In the early noughties, rock was definitely on its way down in popularity, and hip hop blew up, and they were the ones that were become the gangster rappers, and there was the Tupac and Biggie murders, and there was plenty of other murders as well, but
don't forget,
it was the lyrics that people were using. So that's why the congressional hearing on Capitol Hill happened, not just because of Marilyn Manson, because it was just the ethos at the time was all about just lyrics in general, and why the sticker that was put onto albums in the 90s did nothing but elevate the artist. And it's like, if you're a 16, 17-year-old, you're spending your pocket money on an album, what are you going to go...
Parent advisory, explicit lyrical content, I'm there.
We should put one up on the front of our... on there.
It's one of the reasons I bought the ICP album, Insane Clown Posse. Yeah. It's because it had that on the front. I was like, clowns, posse. And I remember listening to it going, I did not expect... Because I thought it was going to sound a bit like Slipknot.
They kind of look like an early Slipknot.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one thing I find quite interesting about that era is how I knew him, and how he also not held on to his popularity, because it sounds like he was desperate. But Marilyn did manage to slide into that new metal scene of 2000s.
Yes.
With things like Tainted Love and some of the tracks he released around that era.
Personal Jesus was a good cover. He's done a lot of covers, because there was one with Muse where they did a split A and B side each, kind of thing. Also, all sorts.
You can see why one of the covers on our radio show, by the way, links to our radio show are below. You can see why me and Mike love a good cover song, because both of us got introduced to one of the biggest artists in rock and metal via his cover songs, but it was his original songs that I remember dancing to in metal clubs, like a mob scene and stuff like that.
Well, I was just going to come on to that, because
crack on.
He was heavily influenced by his partner at the time, Miss Dieter Von Teese, who was pretty much the world's most famous burlesque dancer at the time.
And became one of the world's most famous tattoo artists as well, to be fair.
Did she? I thought that was Kat Von D. Not Dieter Von Teese. Easy to get the names confused.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought of Kat Von D. My apologies, internet. Roast me in the comments for sure.
Yeah, go on, roast him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't get roasted anyway.
So yeah, he was in a relationship with Dieter, and she lived and breathed that kind of 1920s, 1930s look.
Yes.
And that coupled, I think she had quite a positive influence on him, but not with his band, because the band changed members after that.
Yeah.
And he brought out the album The Golden Age of Grotesque,
Yeah.
which had Mob Scene on it, and I, at the time, was dating a burlesque performer as well that travelled internationally.
Of course.
So a few of the tracks on that album were performed by burlesque acts. I'd seen them, and my partner at the time was performing to one of them.
That tour had to be started, and if I'm remembering the information I read earlier correctly, it had to be started in venues appropriate for the show that came with it as well.
Yes.
And it did.
Production and a half.
Yeah, and you couldn't just stick it into a standard venue. But interesting that you mentioned 2003, because it was the thing that we were talking about before, which is, again, it's to do with the lineup. But it's the video that keeps resurfacing from 2003. The
famous one of him,
John Five.
John Five, who was not the original guitarist of the band. He came in, he still did 15 years in Marilyn Manson's band.
Now, the thing that annoys me about this is it's one of those things, and it's something that Marilyn's commented in interviews, is that people don't dig deep enough to find out the real story. Because Marilyn is very different to the stage performer. When you talk to him, he's one of the most super intelligent performers out there.
He is hyper intelligent.
Hyper intelligent. But also, what I love about this is that Marilyn has never talked about what happened on stage to protect John Five. And it's something John Five has even mentioned, is that Marilyn knew what was going on. I'm just going to briefly cover, because it's something that John Five has said in an interview, is his dad was dying, and he thought he had died when he got a phone call. Unfortunately, it actually turned out that his sister had passed and his dad was still dying. And he hadn't slept for 6-7 days straight, having taken sleeping pills, probably a little bit of recreationals.
John Five has had the most unluckiest of lives when it comes to people dying and family members. I would refer back, again, another podcast where we refer to the Billy Corrigan podcast, The Significant Others. John Five has recently been on it, like maybe 2 episodes ago. And they talk in depth about it, and how literally member after member after member after member of his immediate or outer family have all passed away.
And he's got some pretty serious survivor's guilt because of it.
Yes, really bad.
Because with the stuff on stage, part of the reason he was freaking out so much is because, by his own admission, he probably should have walked away from that tour and told Marilyn to find a session guitarist. Yeah. But he was trying to uphold commitments. And then what people don't understand is that Marilyn, like, he bumps into Marilyn and he suddenly just, all of that stress of 6-7 days of not sleeping but trying to, with all of the drugs in the world, suddenly it all just came to a head, and of course he flips out at Marilyn. Now this is the bit that annoys me about the internet, is because... Only this bit? Only this bit. But people still put it up going, oh, look what a bad band member Marilyn is. Now, John Five has been on record more than once, either podcast or the interview I was reading, going, I need people to stop being angry with Marilyn about that. He's like, I was at fault. He's like, you've got to understand what a gentleman Marilyn actually is.
Well, if you watch or listen to the most recent one with Billy, he says that the other members in the band at the time didn't like John Five being there, so they would always, they wouldn't tell him information that he needed, or they'd come up to him at the end of a show and say, in that song you played the wrong note. And so John Five from then on would ask the sound guy to record it, and when they did it again he'd play it back, and that caused more trouble. But I mean, that's
very Metallica-esque falling out on stage, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was Marilyn that when they finally decided that there was no working relationship between the band and John Five, Marilyn was the one that reached out and said, this is how it is. It's, we're going on without you, kind of thing. But like you said, they're still I don't think they're best of friends, best buddies, go to barbecues and stuff.
But on stage,
can you imagine a barbecue with Marilyn Manson?
I would rather not. But no, the thing which I liked about this particular one is he said the mark of the man is he's there on stage, his microphone, which he could easily be making everything public and making John Five's life is down where nobody can hear it. And he's like, and he's being Marilyn because he's on stage. But what he's actually saying to him
John Five is a small guy as well. Must be blonde head guys in there.
And he was basically, what he was saying to John Five is, pick your guitar up, get through the show, we'll deal with this afterwards when the world doesn't see it.
Yeah.
And because John, and this is what John was explaining, is because he had committed to the tour, he couldn't just walk off in the middle of a show. So, but I know what it's like. I've, like Mike's had to put up with me when my life fell apart for various reasons. Is he had to like sit me down a couple of times and go, look, you don't have to honour the commitments that you made when you were feeling well, when this much life stuff has actually gone on.
Exactly.
And Marilyn just wanted him to get to the end of the live performance, keep his private business private and not on the world stage, because it was not just a fan film thing, it was, for that era, properly filmed. So he was just trying to protect John Five, get him off stage, and make sure that John could then deal with it. And the funny thing is, do you know what John said was the best result of flipping out at Marilyn? Is he slept that night. Because something broke the tide.
Yeah, it's that weight off the shoulders.
And he finally let some of it out. Guys, the reason why we talk about stuff like this, and I've just reminded myself, and why we work with Andy's Man Club, historically males don't look after their mental health very well. And that's why it's good to talk about these things and reference things like this happening, so you can see that if you're struggling in your real life and you're struggling to deal with big things happening, that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you have big things happening.
Yeah.
And you need to recognize that sometimes it's good to keep things private so that the world doesn't see, but that doesn't mean oppress it and not deal with it. It just means find a trusted person, like I have here.
Wow. But if you can't find a trusted person, there is plenty of help out there.
There is the number in America I can never remember. There's a very famous song about it. There is Samaritans in the UK. There's Andy's Man Club in the UK. But all you have to do is Google mental health support near me, and the SEO settings, we know this because we've talked to people like Andy's Man Club. The SEO settings of Google are always one of the things that they try and make sure that when people are Googling them, they get above paid companies and all this sort of stuff. And that's why I thought it was such an important thing to talk about something like this, because everybody remembers the fight. Hardly anybody remembers what John Five actually said about it.
That's true.
His reasons for being that way. And the fact that Marilyn was actually trying to support him. He was just trying to make sure that the world didn't know what was going on with him.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Like, that to me makes the interaction that we see between the two of them makes so much more sense.
But after that, then they got rid of John. The band sort of, there was some not so popular albums that came out between sort of
we're talking like the high end of Low and Eat Me, Drink Me and stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of petered off a bit. The live show was still there, and he was still getting booked to headline stages around the world. But I think the press had kind of had enough of the dramas and stuff surrounding Marilyn Manson. But on the flip side of that, every band goes through phases where they have like huge popularity and then it kind of wanes and then they come back.
I mean, we could pick a band out of midair and like, it doesn't matter whether it's bands we love like Killswitch, doesn't matter if it's a super popular one like Metallica or Iron Maiden. We could probably sit here and go, that's the album where they were struggling.
Yeah.
That's the album, because like with Killswitch... Architects, but Killswitch is their self-titled, the last Howard Jones album. I even talked to Joel about it on the last interview. And one thing I love is that Jesse, even though he wasn't on that album, he's the reason that we got a track from it on the gig that we just went to, because he thinks there's some really beautiful parts in that part of their history. But Killswitch hate it. The band the people that wrote it, they're like, it reminds us of where we were.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like Metallica. They've
had.
I mean, Scent Anger and the documentary Some Kind of Monster, that laid everything out there to bear. But you love the fact, or being able to tell people, because I think you went to it, when Iron Maiden were at the lowest ebb of their popularity.
And they've played in Torquay. That's a little seaside town in Devon.
2,000 cap, wasn't it? Something like that?
About that, it was not a lot.
And then they had a couple of bad albums in that time, funnily enough. The multi-superstar that is Bruce Dickinson came back, and It probably helped that they didn't have to pay a pilot to fly them around the world because he did it.
Yeah.
But everybody has these moments, and part of the reason we talk about it is also don't treat your band members like they're not human. Like the bands that you're fans of, just remember there'll be bad shows, there's going to be bad mental health days, and there might even be a bad year or two with a bad album. Don't bully them. Don't put nasty comments online because it doesn't serve any purpose.
Just makes you look small.
Exactly. So I think that's probably, is there any, like, I've got nothing really left in my head to go over.
After those albums, then there was kind of a bit of a lull. I think he went off and did some thinking, did some acting.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson's also had 4 books, bestsellers. The band, over the various iterations, have picked up 5 Grammy nominations.
Which is incredible for how unpopular they were in the 90s. For Grammy popular, I mean.
Yes. And then in 2015, which was when we saw him in the rain at Download, I believe. The Pale Emperor came out, which was critically acclaimed. Everyone loved him, and he toured probably 2 or 3 years off the back of that, and then things started to go south again. So there's ebbs and flows. We covered it earlier. There was various different controversies and stuff, and people always pointing a finger at him, and
it's very easy to.
It is, but he's back on a high.
Working with Falling in Reverse, as we said earlier as well.
Yeah, the last album, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1,
certainly we're getting another.
Well, it came out right at the end of last year, so much so that it got an honourable mention in our top 10 albums of the year. It would have probably made it in for me, but it was just not enough time to
actually digest
it. Because albums of the year for me are ones that I've listened to, know the lyrics, know the songs, know the meaning.
It's only been 1 year where that's changed, but my history supports the decision I made, because it was one of my favourite bands. Released the rest of the album, and I was already in love with the singles. But I otherwise agree with you, and to the point, by the way, I'm really struggling with my top 3 because I love 3 albums so equally at the moment.
We might have to do a 2-parter because there's been so many good albums.
It really has.
But Marilyn Manson is now touring and playing. He did a smallish tour just to put the feelers out there after having about 4 or 5 years out of the limelight, basically. The Assassination Under God tour is going on. It's coming to the UK next week, and fingers crossed I might be going to see him and the band. He's got a whole new band lineup. Because it's always interchanging now. But the good thing is that the new guitarist of the Marilyn Manson band is Reba, that used to be in Code Orange. And
Which is why we did the deep dive on that,
She is a music maestro. She knows her, she's a fan of music, and from the footage I've seen of the festival appearances of Marilyn Manson, she's kicking ass and owning those stages.
Talking about people that we know, we've always paid a little bit of attention since we've discovered Mutiny Within to Mr. Chris Clancy. Talk about the guy to elevate As I Lay Dying. Take a front man, stick him as the backing vocalist. Oh my God, that track echoes. If only I could have had him for the last 2 albums doing the cleans, I would have... Problem is, as a UK fan, I'm probably never going to see As I Lay Dying again because I don't think he can get clearance to come over.
Yeah, it's a Ronnie Radke type situation. I think we will get to see Marilyn at a festival next year because he's already been announced for main stage headliner for at least one festival in mainland Europe. And,
around the time of a couple of UK festivals?
Yes, and there are other festivals where he's playing and headlining stages that aren't the main stage, but
probably the heavy stage.
Well, the golf stage, but it's it's definitely looking like the next year or so is on the up for Marilyn Manson and his new band. There seems to be a fresh lot of love in the media and the industry 100%. To say, this new album is good, and if there's going to be a chapter 2, that'd be quite cool. And I just really would. He's been on my bucket list of top 3 artists to interview since we started the show. Like even before that, before I was doing the radio, me and you, I was like, I'd love to meet him.
I know. I remember where he was one of your. I've not had any sleep and I need to be motivated. cheer up artists.
Yeah.
Because it was that bit of Slipknot, especially the drum solo from Joey. We used to listen to that over and over at
Just
work.
watch it because it was so cool. Where he's like, "Whoa."
Funny thing is one of my bucket lists. I'm wearing a t-shirt for this week. I'm never going to get to chat to because I would have given my left hand to speak to Chester Beddington. But bless him, we're never going to be able to. So Mike Shinoda would really like to chat to you instead because I think he's set such a good bar on how you go about going through something like that if you're famous.
Yeah.
And Emily, we love you as the new vocalist of Linkin Park as well.
What a voice.
What a voice. And
Perfect.
also, what a way to take a band that was a bit of a sausage fest and make the most elevated member female, because I've had so many people say that they're like teenage kids, because that's the age we're at where our friends have teenage kids. They can access Linkin Park because of Emily, and that's just beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in. We are going to do a From the Vault with a very choice interview of a band that doesn't exist. It's not on our YouTube channel. So the only place that you can find our From the Vault is if you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Ping, 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 ping.
Otherwise, make sure you look after yourself. And if you're not feeling particularly great, do what we said earlier and do a little Google mental health services near me. UK men, you can get hold of Andy's Man Club. There's even a place that you can turn up and get some company. Americans, there are so many services over there, but we are going to endeavour to note down a few of them so that we can actually give you those details.
It'll be in the links below.
Yeah. So, I say, make sure you look after yourselves and buy yourself a band t-shirt. There's more on that next time.